Welcome to Podcaster Toten. My name's Rad.
I'm Matt.
It is I, Taco Tech.
This is part 3 of taking inventory. So we're gonna get into some of the weirder bases. So we're gonna start with one it seems simple on the surface, but there might be more to it. That would be Nacht der Untoten.
Literally.
Airfield. Yeah. Oh yeah, on this. Yeah. So it's not much that seems like. It doesn't seem like there's anything with Nacht, but a lot of it comes down to speculation and headcanon as to what the significance is. So let's, I guess, start with what we know officially. We know officially that they were transporting undead and 115 through Nacht, and then the plane crashed. It malfunctioned for some reason, and then hit the trucks, and then that's what caused the Night of the Undead. And that's pretty much it. We also know there's some intel that says there was a second outbreak, and there were strange radio signals in the dead of night. That's about it. So what do you guys think is... Yeah, so what do you guys think... what more can you get from Nacht? What was its purpose, you think?
I guess it's kind of funny, because, it's fitting that of all the maps, it kind of has the least sort of backstory. That's kind of like how it started. The mode itself was just sort of a silly gauntlet, survive zombies. So I guess it's kind of fitting that there was never really anything more to it. I think I mentioned this in the previous one. I don't know. I just always connected with Verrucht, and that maybe the people in Nacht were the rescue team, but that's more headcanon than anything. So that's pretty much all that I have when I think of Nacht.
Yeah, I think it's so fun to think about Nacht, just the simplicity. I'm trying to think, there's not really much inside. I guess all the antennas outside may indicate to me it's some sort of, I don't know, important or not, but some sort of radio broadcast, station of some kind, maybe. We've talked about our, theories that maybe Nacht is actually with the radio signals and, the Group 601, Stage 2, or Step 2, whatever it is, Phase 2, strength through order and the radios, what if there's a fun connection there? I remember I loved the headcanon that, what was it? It was that something brought down the plane, and...
What?
Oh, yeah, it was 115 was on the plane. The headcanon back in the day was there was 115 on the plane. They were transporting the 115, which made the electronics malfunction, and then it dive bombed into a battlefield, and the 115 brought the zombies to life. And I thought that was always kind of a fun one. So it's funny now that it was like that they were taking them by truck, and then an airplane hits it.
Right.
Yeah, was there always in the Nacht loading screen? Or sort of the intro? Is there an indication that there was a storm or something? Why do I feel like I always thought there was a storm?
I think there was fog, but
yeah, I don't remember. I thought I heard thunder or lightning in the distance. Maybe I'm just misremembering, but yeah, I think I know there is just fog, but I don't know why I always thought something with a storm. But I don't know.
I'll take this time to plug a theory I made a while ago. Based on the version of Nacht we see in Revelations, where it has those 4 Tesla coils, which are used to stop the giant apothecon, so you can go inside of it. And basically, the theory was that Nacht is some sort of where they were testing those Tesla coils, because it is an airfield, and it would be used for anti-aircraft, that sort of thing. And so whatever they were testing would be anti-aircraft stuff, and that something caused that plane to malfunction. Maybe something left on or otherwise. But that would also lend credence to the idea that there's something beneath Nacht also.
Yeah, I want to believe that there's a whole facility under there. But you also made me think that with Doris and the flytrap and the whole idea of Nazi UFOs, and so maybe it could be. Yeah, that's where they were sent to, for test flights or something like that, or that would have made it cool.
So many ideas, so many options.
Yeah.
Did you see?
Also, do you guys take Nacht in transit as canon or not?
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rad,
Originally,
you
I
go
was
first.
saying.
Since he started, sorry, man.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has to do with the groom. I mean, not groom, like Hanford being like this bed of 115 testing, because we've noticed a lot of like time displacement stuff wherever they're testing 115. So that seems like potentially whatever they were doing between 1945 and 2025, somehow they brought Noct to that facility, possibly on accident. So it's an interesting thought.
What if it's on purpose?
Maybe it's on purpose. Maybe
If it's that important,
it has to do with what they were testing there. I
right?
don't know.
I
I mean,
if
transit
not,
also has all that underground facility stuff. Maybe they
Yeah.
took the underground too. Because otherwise,
mean,
why is it there?
if Nacht was like really important, I mean, maybe it was rebuilt, but or like they copied that layout. But I like to think though that it's just sort of fate, and that because of like you said, time displacement, that it just so happens to show up there as kind of like one of the anomalies that's just sort of fitting that it's Nacht. Because I mean, with I was just say with Shangri-La, yeah, Shangri-La and Tag and everything. At this point, like I really wouldn't be surprised if it is meant to be there. So
Sure.
What if it was, instead of it being teleported through time and space, it was literally, I was gonna say, I guess we know the Hanford site, they're working on stuff, during the transit time. But I was gonna say maybe it was back during like World War II, they built a full reconstruction of Noct for the day that they go there or something, or like go check it out, or they're running like trainings or drills there.
Like a testing, yeah.
That's interesting. Well, it could be. I mean, it could be that they simply cannot get to that airfield because it's so overrun, and it's like they have to, like test at home even after World War II is over. But I was gonna say the connection of it being in the cornfield to UFOs, like you said, Matt. Interesting.
Yeah.
Get some UFO testing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's a lot to extrapolate from Noct with how simple it is, but you get the imagination flowing.
It's like fitting for the series as a whole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else on Noct?
I mean, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
I guess it's the first time we get, obviously the first map, so it's the first time we get wall writings, first time we get a lot of things, and we have Ascend from Darkness. That was
a recurring theme. Yeah.
Right, that was an interesting one, I guess. Is it okay? So we refresh my memory here. Are the chalk?
So.
Say that again.
I was gonna say that's pre-Reznov, so.
Oh,
like the Reznov
right. Yeah.
Steps.
Yeah, that's right.
Not even. Yeah, I'm not even gonna. Oh, geez, I forgot about that. Okay, so are the writings? Have we determined, are those like Monty-esque stuff, like messages to the people there, or is it the people there actually like writing it on the walls?
I think we kind of, I don't know, threw around all possibilities last time. I know one of them was just that it could be the people there were the literal ones writing it, but it could have been like through Monty's influence, like if he's in their head or something like that.
Right. Because if you're just a guy writing stuff on the wall for whoever comes later, why would you write something so vague if you're trying to tell them to go upstairs? I guess so. Yeah, it seems like something. Because Monty doesn't want to directly tell you, okay, go upstairs and go do this. But then again, why does he care about these people? It's just random Marines. I don't know. Maybe because Ultimus is going to come later.
Ooh. Do you think the Ascent from Darkness really means the stairs? I mean, that makes sense in the context of.
Well, yeah, it's like thematic, but also I think most of the writings have like a gameplay meeting and then like a like a higher meaning. Like return through
Yeah.
ether, I think it's supposed to be like because there's 3 return through ethers on Duries. It's like all the location of the teleporter. It's telling you link the teleporters so that you can teleport through the ether. So yeah, it's like at the double meaning, but
Okay.
it seems kind of Monty-ish.
An eternal debate.
Yeah. So I guess we can move on to excavation site 64, aka Origins, in Dimension 63 specifically. That's the only time we've seen it, physically. So it seems to be mainly a dig site for Group 935, which is a whole different organization in Dimension 63. Maxis didn't found it by the way it looks. It just seems like mostly they're just helping with the war effort in World War One. So I don't know. I don't really know what. I don't remember what were they digging for specifically. Was it just War 115?
Well, they were in the intro. They went into the tombs, right? So did they accidentally discover that? Well, in the beginning, it looks like they hit the wall, right? That kind of opened up into like the catacombs or whatever it was under there. So
it was like Low Barrow is filled with 115, so maybe that's what they were mainly looking for. But
and they
they find the zombies. And it's also we find out in the map like Maxis was getting visions from Samantha. He found these designs for these ancient staves, and he recreated them, but he couldn't find the crystals.
Was this the first time in Dimension 63 that they had their supply of 115? Because it just thinking about the robots and everything, like I feel like the robots had to, which I'm assuming they're also powered by 115. Like that seems like it would predate the origin site, because how long were they there? Like, were they aware of other sources of 115 and they were able to create these types of weapons, and then they found maybe like a highly concentrated area? Because I was just thinking about that. That's weird. Okay.
Well, also something I do find interesting was like they released these letters from the field with all the characters. And they would show one from 1914, like the beginning of the war, and then one 1918 when Origins happens. And the ones from 1914 sound pretty normal, like from history. And then by the time it's 1918, they're like, oh shit, this is the German war machine is this big thing. They've got these big robots and stuff. So it seems like that period of time is when they got this huge advancement. I'm sure they were studying 115 before that, but
gotcha. Okay, yeah, that's right. I forgot about those. That brings me back. Yeah, so maybe this was just like a highly concentrated area and then maybe they did know about all the different, the sort of the stabs and everything. So
right. So they do that, and then they break open the tomb. They get #attacked, and then they start. I guess then they settle down and start building these conversion generators, and they start what do they start doing?
I just heard that in my head.
Next at excavation site 64.
Right. Yeah, so they turn 115 into like power over the air, I guess. It's like it powers the local area somehow. That's an interesting technology.
Yeah.
Also, something that is cool that doesn't really get talked about is there's a paper scrap that's like a design for a 115 drill, and it's the same drill that Broken Arrow builds. It's like the exact same shape and everything, like the one on the Nuketown loading screen. So I'm like, how advanced were they? And like, were they planning to use that giant ass drill on the dig site?
So what do you? Yeah, that's actually interesting. To answer the advanced question, I mean, this is just sort of a random theory, but like, what are the odds that you find out that version of Group 935 was started by like Ultimus Richtofen or something like that, like some type of or even another version of Primus or something, like some paradox where. But I'd like to think it was Ultimus.
That's some wild speculation, I think.
That's beautiful. I want to see a thread on that.
Oh, maybe Purnell did it.
Yeah.
With all his traveling, telling Maxis how to open new worlds. Fucking Cornelius Purnell.
I feel if we ever revisit 935, or that version of 935, I feel like we're gonna get something like that, like some type of like predestination.
Well, see, I really wish because they expanded on the lore a lot in like the original timeline, but Dimension 63 got nothing after the timeline came out.
That's true.
Got destroyed.
Right. There's only I think 4 maps that take place in it, and it doesn't really get any expansion on like what's different about it because it's such an interesting universe. It's like World War I is probably won by the Germans because you have all these crazy technology, but it's not really brought up.
That is interesting because it's if Shadows of Evil is in the Dimension 63, I wonder how it
the only
played
trace
out.
of that in Shadows is the cop, the robot cop. It's like the same design as the Origins robot.
Oh, then it wouldn't. No, because I was just sort of thinking because Ultimate Primus is left by then, but then maybe they quickly like Broken Arrow or whatever starts like 50 years earlier. Then I guess everyone starts like a Diesel Punk 115 race, like arms race or something.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, everything just gets kickstarted a lot earlier.
And also, I mean, they find like this like ancient technology, like the Pack-a-Punch and the mystery box. How does that change history too?
Or what if it's just such a colossal failure that it's a
maybe because it isn't a battlefield, so maybe it gets like destroyed in the process. But
it's like a failure of its own success. It was so powerful and beyond their scope and reasoning that I guess it just gets destroyed.
Right. Maybe it's the Wolfenstein universe.
Yes, probably is.
Yeah, Origins is such a tough one to. I don't know.
We don't have any background information. It's just the map itself. That's what you get.
Right, because it's just kind of funny. Because it seems like for Mob and Shadows that kind of life just went on as usual. And I mean they're in America, so I guess that's the difference. Maybe Europe was ravaged by World War I, so maybe Europe is just absolutely obliterated by what happened here. But I guess
true. Okay.
You would think though that because Shadows of Evil is 40s, yeah. Do I have that wrong?
It's the 30s.
Yeah, it is. It's 40s. It's
okay.
When World War II would be if there is World War II.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So it's funny to me to think how even if America was not as involved in World War I and things just went on as normal, I just wonder what the German country would be like, in the 20s and the 30s, having not lost World War I and be humiliated. Like, how could 1940s America be so normal with? I mean, maybe they aren't that normal. We don't know much about the geopolitical situation. We don't know what kind of status America holds, I guess. So maybe it was that bad for them.
It's like technology things, but yeah.
With the robots are related to 115, but I always remember them, describing it as like a diesel punk universe. So how much of the technology is really diesel punk, and how much is 115?
The perks are definitely. They have but I mean, the perks themselves are probably 115 based still.
Yeah. So maybe that kind of answers. Because maybe that answers it. Is that most of the technology was just like it's just a diesel punk universe that 115 didn't catch on because maybe it failed. Because everything was kind of contained at the dig site.
I want more of that. I need more.
Yeah.
Give me more.
Right, like is there any evidence either way for the robots being powered by just standard electricity or 115?
Probably in the head there's like maybe I'm wrong. I think I remember like a tube that has like the 115 liquid, but I'm probably wrong on that.
No, I think well, you know what? In Der Schatten, I think when the robots are destroyed, or like, because I think it's supposed to be the robot that Primus took to Der Eisendrache, but it's littered all over the map, and I think there's like 115 leaking all over the place. So, I mean, my guess is maybe they had the idea for a giant robot, and it was just 115 was like the missing piece. So, like, technically, like the skeleton could be like Diesel Punk or whatever, and then they just needed a power source.
Sure.
I mean, anything else on Origins? It's a lot of ancient, timey-wimey fantasy stuff at Origins.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much fun backstory and history to like that 935, and just like like Richthofen at Heidelberg, and just all that stuff. If I'm remembering the correct timeline, but it's just tough to, like you said, they just don't expand on that universe much. It's tough to even like cover it. You just don't even like. It's fun random facts, but I don't know what objective that goes towards, so to speak.
Well, it's kind of
history.
What's kind of weird is that the Origins is also is that the site of the Great War, or is it just the?
I think it took place across Europe, if I remember the.
Okay, the whole.
But that's like I think that's like the final, where they banished them.
Because that's kind of interesting because I always associate the Great War and the whole, was it like the Wolf King and all that stuff. I always link that to Dimension 63, but that doesn't happen in Dimension 63, does it?
It happens, and that's confusing because the timeline has the Great War happening in both.
Yeah.
Which is a bit sketchy, but that's a topic for another day, to be honest.
Yeah, because Der Eisendrache, like we mentioned before, is related to the Great War site, right? Because that was the king, isn't that where the what's his face from Buried is? That's right. Wasn't he? Yeah. So it's just weird that, I mean, obviously these places both exist in both universes, but it's just sort of weird because it's following like the Primus storyline, and so I'd expect it to be more in a Dimension 63 happening, but now it's being ported over. Those chain of events happened in the other. I don't know. It's just like a weird blending of like kind of what is unique to each dimension.
Well, speaking of Buried, Purgatory Point, the year of our Lord 1885. So this is where Jeb Brown was from, where his mother died because of a zombie, and there's a big mine full of 115. He gets contacted by these angels. He makes the Vril Rod, the Vril Vessel. He makes the designs for the Orgarthan device, and he designs the Pack Punch. And then this gets found later. Well, it gets teleported to Angola, Africa, and it's later found by Group 935. And that's how Richthofen figures out how to make the shard. He finds, obviously, the Vril Rod, which he needs for his grand scheme. So, what I guess first question, how did Group 935 utilize this site? Was it just for these items? What else could they have attained from there, I suppose?
I hate answering questions with a question, but if in the beginning of Buried, it looks like some like mining facility or whatever. Was that built by 935? Like I just.
That's a good question.
Because to me, the aesthetic of it just made me think like it was a mining company, and then all of a sudden Buried teleported under them. But now there's a whole Nazi expedition. So like.
Right. So I guess it could have happened anytime between when they discovered it and 2035. So also, I mean, there's also the connection with the global polarization device, the tower. So if we assume that that's built around the same time the other two were built, and those two were commissioned by Richthofen with the Ascension Group and Broken Arrow. So I would assume maybe that came with it. Like he told them, go here, there's 115 you can mine, and also build the tower for me.
Yeah. I guess then it's very, Black Opsy. I guess it's under the guise of some standard mining operation. Because I don't know, it's just interesting because in all the other places you always sort of have remnants of like, oh, it's affiliated with this, but you don't really get anything from that. That's why I just thought it was just some random kind of company. But
so I mean, I guess I should mention how it gets there, which is confusing because the timeline says one thing. It says that it got there because of temporal rifts at Kino. I believe is what it says. On the other hand, but then in Nacht der Toten, we find out Jeb Bush,
baby.
Jeb Brown puts his mother's corpse into the pack-punch machine, and then the town gets teleported to Angola and zombies attack.
That's what it says? Huh.
Well, it's the biggest meme in history.
Is it both? Did he just so happen to put her body in at the same time as like the rift happening? Is it maybe that's what connected the two events? For that to happen?
So I was sort of wondering. It reminds me of how they kind of describe. It was in the show Dark, but also like the idea of like time is a sort of a parabola, or like where it can kind of fold in on itself. So yeah, maybe those two events in Kino, and when he like maybe when Richtofen or someone was using the Pack-a-Punch or powering up the Pack-a-Punch in Kino, it coincided and was linked to when he did that, and then I guess it's just weird.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think it's just weird because I feel like there's so many other places that and events that would have been like, oh yeah, that's where the rift came from, like all the fractures or I honestly thought blowing up the world with the 115 rockets was what sent Buried to Africa, but
sure,
I guess not.
Actually, you might be right. It's one of those two. I want to check it.
Yeah, I was wondering if it is the Pack-a-Punch one. Just like it reminds me of when they go from Therese to Kino, and I just wonder like somehow putting her body in the Pack-a-Punch does some overload thing and does some temporal, shift and throwing. I don't really know why that would happen.
Okay, yeah, it says it happened as a moon. The Earth fracturing triggers further temporal rifts, teleporting the town underneath the mining facility. Oh, so it says it was a mining facility already.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I do remember the it being a mining. Okay.
Yeah, you're correct. That's interesting.
Was it like a front company or something?
Oh yeah, maybe like the. So yeah, was there 115 there already? And they were mining that, and then the town just showed up. Well, because the way Richtofen makes it sound is like that they were going somewhere, and then they found the town. Like he didn't make it sound like it teleported there. He made it sound like it was deliberately like the town was deliberately built there. Like he's like, oh, these damn Americans, they think they can take whatever they want.
When I guess to kind of figure this out is when do we get about the sort of the expedition to the Angolan dig site? Like when is that from?
It's mentioned in Tog, and it happens in 1942.
All right,
so maybe he's just intentionally acting like he doesn't know, because that is a very Richtofen thing to do.
Well, I don't know.
He
says in some sort of subterranean cowboy village. Apparently, it was American. So I guess maybe he's saying the subterranean nature is American, or maybe he just means the cowboy village. Yeah.
That's what I think it is. I think it's his joke that like, oh, like haha, the Americans are all over the place. The boys have returned. Yeah. Porter. Yeah, so that's what I mean, it still begs a lot of there's still a lot of problems with like how did they get the Pack-a-Punch in the original run through, but that's what I'm just wondering if maybe he just knows to look there because of a previous foray.
It's the paradox.
Doesn't
make any sense.
Although wait, all it just says is that the Nazis went there. They didn't build anything there. But then it's like, how does a mining company not know? Unless maybe
it's like they own the mining company, or it's like a front, like you said, but They hear something about a disturbance there. They go check it out. They find that it's like maybe there's no one to tell the story there because they all got killed by the zombies that appeared. So it's like they're just like, oh, we found this thing. What's going on here?
Yeah. Well, I guess I mean, given how even in Buried and in what was it, Blackout. I mean, you enter the town from like this, tiny little like hole in the wall. So it could just be the Germany knew where to look and then took those schematics and artifacts and then left. And for the most part, it remained underground until the mining company then accidentally stumbles upon it. But although, wait, when does the time now? So getting back to the timeline, when does the timeline say the temporal rifts send it there?
That's I don't think it does. Well, okay, I think the initial implication of the timeline was that it appears in 2025.
Okay, yeah.
But we know now it must have appeared there probably in 1885 is the implication now. So like immediately, because I mean immediately, Jeb Brown. I'm second guessing myself, but he's like, yeah, we were underground somewhere. So I imagine probably in 1885.
Oh, right, because Jeb talks about in that radio where he goes, people are like, you've been down there for days, and he's like, what do you mean? I was there for a couple hours. That was 1885, right?
Yeah, was that before the teleport? I think that, but yeah, I think there's definitely some weird screwy thing going on. But I guess that's maybe that's just what it is. It was there, and sort of kept under wraps until the mining company, because if you have a small group of people, you can just find some subterranean entrance or whatever, and then you just go in and leave. But I guess the mining company actually blew up the, started digging and destroying the ground, and then I guess found the town.
See, here's something also interesting. Arthur, right? Because Arthur gets sent there from medieval history. So he couldn't have gotten sent there 1940 whatever or 1885 because he'd be dead by 2035. So I assume he must have ended up there in 2025. Yeah, poor guy. Felt bad for him. He didn't get a cryopod.
Yeah, right.
Probably died. I don't think this would abandon him.
Is there anything that explains why he doesn't talk or anything like that? Was that like a 115 side effect or because it just seems kind of.
Also, why is he so big? I imagine he was probably because it says he was the servant, so I imagine it was he was the king could just talk to him because he's the. Not the fool, not the jester, but just he was deformed and he picked them up and he's like, you can be with me or whatever. He took care of him.
Mm-hmm. But it's just interesting because when he goes there, it's like, who's there? Why does he have the overalls? And he's did he lock himself in the?
Yeah, he must have just found those overalls. He's probably smarter than we think because he was smart enough to get to the castle and to dump the body or the ashes or whatever at the site. So
So maybe he was just hiding from the zombies because he doesn't like the Jeb's mother, right? Because he doesn't enter the house.
Right.
Isn't there something where he's afraid?
Yeah, he's probably scared of the ghost. Yeah.
So he just kind of
he's very scared of people. So yeah, he's probably scared of all the shooting and zombies. It's interesting.
That's not a bad strat. Just lock yourself in. There you go.
But I wonder how long was he there? Because he doesn't have food.
That was my next question. What's he eating?
Oh, he's been eating candy and booze. So I don't know.
Maybe he did. That would be kind of funny if he could actually just leave and it was completely irrelevant for Victus to actually get the keys.
Oh. Well, yeah, he probably could. Well, he can go because the keys are right outside his cell. He intentionally locked himself in there because when you shoot him, he goes back in there and locks himself in. So it's just a safe place for him, I guess. He's not actually trapped. Oh, poor guy.
Yeah. It's a new way to look at it.
And we don't really get what happens to him post-buried either.
He has a grave in Blackout. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Maybe Victus buried him. There
Wow.
you go. That makes Blackout buried post-buried.
Which is weird.
So
True.
there's that one for you. There's something to put in your pipe and smoke. So let's. You want to move on from that?
Yeah.
Move on to just quickly touch on Kustover Posten, which probably just a prison. So it's one mention in Moon where it's where they get people to sacrifice to the MPD for souls. And the timeline specifies that those people are specifically soldiers and scientists. So did we talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, we might have. Yeah.
Touched on it.
We don't know if the soldier.
The initial theories were that it was a concentration camp, which the idea that they would specify its soldiers and scientists might lend credence to that was the original intention, but they don't want to go that route anymore.
Right.
Yeah, so do we think it's like, is it a Group 95 prison, or is it like owned by the government?
That's the question, right? Is it are they internal dissidents, so to speak? Are they
prisoners of
captured
war?
peoples, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I mean, is there any evidence?
Okay, here's a question. Why are there... Here's a thought I had back in the day that I have not thought about much. Why are there zombies on the moon? So part of me was like, okay, they took the souls and then they buried the bodies. They did, and so now we've got the bodies coming back up or something. Would that make any sense?
Yeah. Also, the scientists,
the crew,
the place got overrun. Yeah.
I think it was just sort of the crew that's there, which is kind of interesting because it was just left there. They were just left on the moon for such a long time.
We assume the Americans got there eventually with their teleporter, and Soviets probably. So maybe there was failed attempts to take it back, and that's why they're not actively there.
It's kind of because I know the astronauts are at least American, but the zombie labs kind of implies that they're just sort of studying it. Do we? But the one thing I wonder is, do we know like what is the time frame for like decomposition of a zombie, and like is there any like are they just sort of stuck like that indefinitely? Because Moon is 2025 now, right? So if those are the German scientists and stuff, they've just been on the moon for
Well, how does the moon affect that? Because there's not like natural bacteria, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, but I mean, like I guess this is more gameplay than. Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is like it's more gameplay than But because like
because like what about buried? Because surely those bodies.
Too. And I was just thinking in Moon, but you do have areas with like oxygen and the what was it, the one what was I gonna say, the biodome. So like it seems like there would be pockets where something could like decompose or just But it's a
gameplay.
I'm sure it's like don't worry about it. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting.
They don't want you asking those kind of questions.
I just think Element 115 keeps them alive, or like it's like stuck in some weird temporal loop.
That's what I was thinking. It's like a half decomposition they just stay in.
Yeah.
You got skeletons.
Yeah.
We talked about that for a little bit, but spooky zombie skeletons. So we get on from Kustover Posten to the Stalingrad Facility, Gorod Krovy. So this one seems to be exclusive to Agonia because this is where the Battle of Stalingrad keeps going, and the Germans are like seemingly close to winning here.
Okay, because that was sort of my question.
Their technology.
How does the German base? So it's because they're winning the war and sort of pushing them back that they're able to establish this foothold then, and that's the
right.
Is it so? This is sort of relatively recent then. This facility.
Right. Yeah. It's like half of a Group 95 facility, and then half like a forward operating base because there's like military equipment and ammunition. So So first thing I guess is like Sophia is like that's her home where she's stationed to control all the operations. And Sophia is interesting because she seems also to be exclusive to this. She gets killed by Maxis and then put into a robot body. Which is kind of fucked up, Maxis.
Let's get him canceled.
Which Maxis was this? This is just specific to the Agonia Maxis.
Right. Okay. And he's the one that apparently was contacted by Broken Arrow, and who may be the one who got the Kernorium and built Zero Base, potentially.
Which is... Well, see, the whole technology thing here, I mean, I guess the fractures are like, maybe they're a blended universe or something, but the fact that it seems like the Russians are like retooling, what is it, the German robots, right? Because Nikolai's in a mech, and then there's one of the giant robots. But do they have the Iron Cross on them? I can't remember.
No,
is
they
it
have the star, I think.
Okay, so
the Russian ones.
Yeah, so then the Russians, which is weird why the Germans just sort of forget about their mechs, but it just, again, getting back to that blurring of Dimension 63 and which timeline does it take place in, because it seems like this is a universe now where they're now standard tools of war, right. The giant robots and mechs, and it would be funny if that's like what initially propelled them to use dragons, if... obviously I'm blurring Primus and Ultimus, but like if they did have the technology for mechs in like 1918, that in 1940 the countermeasure was to just bring dragons or something like that. If like all the other countries had giant robots.
That's true. That's an interesting point. Yeah. So the dragons we know get built, or they get resurrected by Division 9 at the island facility, which we might go into, but. Yeah, so this is where they train the dragons with these collars, and seemingly they're controlled the same way that the zombies are, because they have the same red eyes as they do.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting. So I guess that means they're tied to the Apothicons in some way.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, if the kind of would be a neat retcon, if not sort of, if it, I don't know if it really be a retcon, but like the fact that like, they said the dragons couldn't reproduce and stuff like that. What if it was because they're just like zombies? Like the idea of like they were actually resurrected, just like you reanimated a corpse. But then there's the whole egg thing.
Eggs. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting thought. But also, okay, so like the plan with Stalingrad seemingly was they released possibly gaseous 115 in Stalingrad to kill basically everyone there. And then they sent out these Valkyrie drones, which their purpose is to search for people that are immune to it. Like they'll call out like Primus as being immune, like immune subject discovered.
Oh.
So I guess Nikolai might also be immune, Ultimus Nikolai. Possibly that's due to experimentation or just some sort of natural immunity, and that's what they're searching for. I always found that interesting.
Yeah, well, that's a nice kind of pointer to the natural immunity theory. I mean, I guess we don't know how much Primus was doing off-screen, but it would indicate that, yeah, if Ultimus Nikolai is immune, and so is Primus, it might just be some natural thing rather than a...
Right. Also, maybe Reznov.
Yes.
There is a hint of Reznov in Gorod Kirby. So he's still around. He got his revenge. Maybe he kills that general, the same general, Amsel, in this timeline too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Maybe
I actually completely forgot he was there, or like referenced or at all.
Because there's a street or something, or is that Belinsky Street? I can't remember.
Yeah, Belinsky Square. That's also interesting too. So maybe his family is famous.
When is Stalin? I'm trying to think. There's something with his story of he did work his way up through the Communist Party ranks. If that's backstory, it's still to be canon. So I guess that's why. When does the Stalingrad Grad Krovi take place? It's like their battle of Stalingrad, right?
It's like 1945. It's been going on for very
Okay.
long time.
Gotcha. Because I was just trying to match it up with the
I believe.
when Reznov would be there in campaign and stuff like that. It's just a never-ending war.
Right. So yeah, it seems like Nikolai is. I believe someone says Nikolai is the last of his kind, so he might be the last surviving man in Stalingrad, fighting it out with that mech, which is very sad, but also kind of badass.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
But again, just makes me wonder, like, how long they've been mobilizing and using the robots.
Also, there's also the moon connection, because there are monitors directly connected to Griffin Station, which says to me either in this fracture Maxis knows about the moon base, or he played a part in creating it, which is also a common theory. That maybe he went mad, that's why he's such a loon in this fracture, because he was the one that ended up touching the MPD and creating Griffin Station.
Huh. Well, it also, to add to the confusion, is the Sophia scene at the end of Revelations. That's Gerard Crovy's Sophia, right?
Yes.
And she's reuniting with a different Maxis.
Yeah,
right?
So it's not as creepy, but still kind of is.
Well, it's just weird because it's like, well, because is it Primus Maxis she's reuniting with?
Yes.
And Primus Maxis never mentions anything about a Sophia, right?
Right, yeah, he didn't know he had a daughter. He didn't mention Sophia, no.
So is that just such a weird, yeah.
It's possibly like bleeding of memories because of all the timelines. So like they know who the real one is. Like they know, like she knows Maxis is not all bad.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Agonia is a very messed up fracture.
Yeah.
This is also the one where the 5 crew dies.
Oh, right.
Oh, so like the Agonia, but the thing with, so does Stalingrad, and I know there's the whole theory about, red eyes, is it like another purgatory type cycle, but they mentioned the 5 crew dying here, but does that mean that Stalingrad eventually came to an end? And
see, that's where my headcanon lies. My headcanon is it got so bad in Europe that America just surrendered. So then America and Germany became like they were collaborating science-wise, and that's why they died in the Pentagon, because of whatever they were testing was so much more effective and advanced. Whatever caused the outbreak there. But it's just like headcanon wise.
Yeah, it's just such a weird, or like,
So it's a Wolfenstein.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly Wolfenstein. I could also see it being like, well, it's not like a linear thing where the fracture is only contained in that specific part of that timeline, meaning like everything else simultaneously flowed through as if it didn't happen, but like it kind of it still has a cascading effect and screws other things up. You know what I mean? Like the kind of the idea of like the whole idea of like time pockets or whatever. But who knows? Also, I think Richtofen just went to everyone in every timeline and gave every USSR, every United States all the information on how to build robots, and that explains why it's just all over the place.
Well, one thing also that was interesting to me was the ray gun Mark III, because, by the implication from there's like a Zetsubo fracture where it's Peter McCain flying in, and it's the same Peter McCain from the cutscene, presumably, and he says he has the experimental enemy weaponry Mark III. So it's like you assume this is the ray gun Mark III by Group 935. But then the actual ray gun Mark III in the map, the GKZ-45 MK3, it has the Russian star on it on both sides. So it's like, is the enemy talking about Soviet Union, or is it like maybe he shows up with this ray gun and that somehow changes history to where now the Germans, or no, where the Russians steal it? I don't know.
Yeah, because I also got the implication, right, that Peter McCain was from another, not from the fracture or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, he's from like the Zetsubo fracture.
I also just wondered, like, what's the point of going to get this specific Nikolai from the fracture, because he's not the Ultimus Nikolai? You know what I mean? Like there's like these weird they're getting the souls from like these fractures, and it's like, is that what wouldn't you want the actual Ultimus and not fracture? Like I
It
never
has
understood.
something to do with the eternal soul because it's like I
They're
think
all
like
shared.
the metaphorical reason is because it's like he's the most pure Nikolai. Like this is like him at his most suffering, or like the most agony. Same with Takeo's. But yeah, because I don't know, Monty says something about how they died doing what they
I
did
guess
when they
it's
were living.
is it like the easiest to extract or whatever? Like if they all share this like immortal soul, like you have to find, like you're saying, the most vulnerable point, so then you can rip it out or something like that.
Maybe.
That'd be interesting. I didn't think of that. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. So, anyway, I guess anything else to say about Stalingrad facility?
That's all I can think about.
Okay. This would be a good time to, I guess, wrap up the podcast. So we'll see you guys next time. Maybe we'll talk about a different organization's facilities. That might be fun.
Finally.
Heck yeah, we're doing the full rounds. We're going Broken Arrow, Division 9.
We're doing a
Right.
TED Talk.
Exactly. We have so many options.
So, see you guys next time on
See ya.
Podcaster Toad.
Goodbye.